week's Torah portion tells us that man is a tree of the field. The rabbis tell us that the tree is truly a good symbol for the human being, because in many ways, whatever the tree contains, we symbolically have the same elements as well. So what is a tree made up of? 3 basic components. It has its roots, then it has its trunk, branches, and leaves, and then it has the fruit that it produces. In the same way, a human being is made up of 3 things. We have our faith, we have our emotions and our intellect, and we have the offspring, the produce that we are able to influence throughout our lives. Now, of all the 3 elements of the tree, it is the roots that are the least glamorous, because the roots aren't even seen. And if you dig under to be able to get a good view of them, you'll see a bunch of intertwined pieces of tree that are trying to get as sure-footed into the ground, deep and wide, and so on and so forth. And they don't look like anything special. Certainly not as glorious as the trunk and these beautiful branches and the glorious and colorful leaves. But of all the components, it's probably the most essential. Without a healthy set of roots, without a well-grounded roots to a tree, the tree's certainty and its health is certainly unknown. The healthier the roots are to a tree, the better the tree is going to withstand certainly winds and damage and so on and so forth throughout its life. In the same way, a person's faith is not something that we see. What we do see is a person expressing themselves through their intellect, through their emotions, very much like you would see the tree's trunk, branches, and leaves. They look far more beautiful, just like a person, if they behave properly, and whatever they display through their emotions and intellect, hopefully, is beneficial to other people that are certainly around them. But deep down, it is our faith that nurtures the people that we become. And while it may not be seen, having healthy faith provides a human being to be on the best path possible. So sometimes, while we're busy working on our personality and working on our habits and our behavior, sometimes we don't spend enough time nurturing the very foundation of life itself, nurturing and learning about our faith. There was a rabbi who once was told by an atheist or a self-proclaimed atheist that he doesn't believe in God. And the rabbi said, "Do you know what? The God that you don't believe in, I don't believe in either." What is our perception of God? What does it mean that God is omnipotent? What does it mean that God is all-powerful? What does it mean that God is a gracious God and a kind God, while we see terrible things happening before us? So really, we need to spend more time understanding what God is. Because the more that we can develop our faith, it's this faith that will help us nurture healthy emotions and intellect. And then, if you have good faith and pleasant emotions and intellect that makes you behave in a beautiful way, what do we end up doing? We end up sharing it with others. And that's our fruit. The fruit is our ability to produce something beyond ourselves. Because at the end of the day, it's not all about us. If we know something special about life, we certainly want to share it with someone else. If we think that we've drunk the elixir of life, we want to share it with someone else. And the more that you learn, and the more that you study, you realize how really special it would be to be able to let somebody else in as well. So maybe it's time to not only study about the do's and don'ts of Torah, maybe it's time to study about who God is, what God is, so that we have an appreciation of what we actually believe in. Healthy roots will lead to a beautiful trunk, wondrous branches and leaves that will produce healthy fruits, an offspring and an influence that will benefit others. Have a great Shabbos.